not many players have been able to go back-to-back top 8s in the same weekend. I think the list is probably somewhere around 10. Of course, the only person to go back-to-back wins still, Jerry Thompson.
Correct.
He's going to be there for a little while, I would imagine. Very difficult to pull off. The closest we've ever had is a win followed by a top 4. I think that Charles Gindy pulled that one off in DC last year. And if you count Buffalo to DC, Legacy to Standard, Josh Cho did it as well.
Oh,
that's sort of like an extended back-to-back.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Shrout's opponent is going to be Jacob Hoffman. He is playing Hive Mind, a deck that is popularized by Brian Elliott out in Spokane, Washington. He's basically the only person that plays that deck, so to see it here at 5-1 is a little bit surprising. Again, not because the deck is poor, but mostly because just no one plays the deck.
Certainly not anymore. Not in the days of non-mental misstep. I think that the deck was popular back in those days. Tom Ma had an open win, and sort of fallen off the radar. One of the show and tell decks that not as many people like to play. However, doing very well here. Do you think that that's a product of the metagame? Do you think that that's a product of just this guy happening to have this build of the deck?
You know, I don't really have a good answer for you as to why Hoffman's having a good week, and I always thought that Hive Mind is a pretty powerful deck. You know, it's a deck that's capable of killing its opponent on turn 2, potentially turn 3. So the power level, as far as a combo deck is concerned, is certainly there. But Deathrite Shaman has changed a few things because paying for packs is a little bit easier now because of that card. But again, I am a little bit surprised to see less of this deck. And then when a player who is very adept at playing the deck, like Brian Elliott, he won the Star City Games Open in Seattle last time we were there a couple months ago. So again, the power level of this deck is certainly there. It's just, again, not very many people play that deck. And not very many people play Dredge either, to be fair.
Absolutely, yeah. Andrew Shrout here on the left. He did not play a card on his first turn, and since he was on the draw, he had 8 cards, was able to discard the Golgari Grave Troll down and use it to dredge this turn.
So he turns over 6 cards: Careful Study, Lion's Eye Diamond, City of Brass, Stinkweed, Imp, a Cabal Therapy, and an Archamoeba. That trigger is going to resolve. It's going to come into play. Shrout's going to play his land for the turn, which is a Cephalid Coliseum. And you see Hoffman going to read that. Does tap for a blue mana. You do have to take 1 for that. But the important part here is the threshold on Coliseum. And when that happens, things start to spiral out of control.
Absolutely. It lets you draw 3 cards, and perhaps just as importantly, discard 3 cards. There's the From the Vault Realms art for Cephalid Coliseum, allowing you to cycle through 3 cards. Of course, you can replace the draw, as he is doing now with Careful Study, with a dredge. He's going to replace that by dredging 5. Then the second draw is going to also be replaced by a dredge. That is going to be the Golgari Grave Troll, which dredges for 6.
So the 6 cards that are be coming off the top here for Mr. Shrout. Let's see what they are. See if he can get a little bit deeper in his deck and start doing some broken things. Maybe a turn 2 kill here in order. Lion's Eye Diamond, a Breakthrough, a Putrid Imp, another Narcomoeba, a Gemstone Mine, and a Flamekin Zealot. So no Bridge from Belows or Dread Return Jet, and he does just have 1 Cabal Therapy, so he does have at least 1 free spell to cast.
Yeah, and Jacob has not really given much away here with his turn 1 Misty Rainforest into Island, turn 2 Island draw. Jacob could be playing anything from something with Show and Tell in it to something with Vidalcan Shackles in it.
Yeah, there's no real giveaway here on what Hoffman has. He's played like a fetch land, and he has 2 basic islands in play. So Shrout has to be a little bit wary of like Force of Will or other different types of counter magic, but that's really it. And again, the Cabal Therapy that's in the graveyard, he actually has 2 copies down there. One is a promo, one is not. Those will actually be able to clear the way and give Shrout a better idea of what he's up against. The question is does he want to sacrifice one of these Narcomoebas when he doesn't have a Bridge from Below in the graveyard? And the answer right now is yes.
I think he just wants to see where he's at. Jacob could very well be on a combo deck. Of course he is, as you see here. Not having all of the pieces necessary to make that Show and Tell work. He only has the Show and Tell, has no other blue card for that Force of Will. Andrew did name Force of Will with the Cabal Therapy, and he will be able to take it out of Jacob's hand.
So he's going to leave Jacob with 2 Lotus Petals, a couple of lands, and that Show and Tell, but nothing to put in play. And even if he was to draw a Hive Mind right now, one, I think he would actually cast Show and Tell and put it into play, but the important thing is that he actually can't kill Shrout.
Yes. And in a deck like Jacob's that has so many ways to manipulate their library, he's running 4 Brainstorms, 4 Ponders, 2 Gataxian Probes, to name just a few. He also has Intuition to be able to go get Hive Mind or Emrakul or something along those lines, whichever combo piece he's missing. But he has none of those in hand, only with the mana and the name of the deck, Show and Tell.
No. So another Dredge 6 here from Shrout, another Narcomoeba comes into play, but still no bridges, still just that one Cabal Therapy and no Dread returns. Faithless Looting does come off of that Dredge, but he doesn't have the necessary mana to actually be able to cast that just yet.
Yeah, Andrew Shrout's hand is full of black creatures. I think that he has Icarid as well as both Golgari Thug and Stinkweed Imp in his hand, and I think I also saw the fourth one, Putrid Imp, in there as well. Andrew Shrout's going to go with the 1/1 flyer beatdown, I think, so far, which is going to be good enough because Jacob only has mana sources left in his hand, but eventually, of course, well, there's Breakthrough, so that's going to change things quite a bit.
Yeah, this should accelerate things in a pretty big way. Now, you saw Shrout clear the way with the Cabal Therapy. He wants to make sure he's good to go, you know, in case Jacob did draw another Force of Will. So, again, he does sacrifice an Narcomoeba, does not have a Bridge from Below to kind of replace an Narcomoeba with, but it's kind of go time here. So we're going to turn over 6 cards for 5 and 6, which is Cabal Therapy, and he does not hit another Dredger, it looks like, either.
Oh,
so
wow. So he's going to draw 3 cards and then discard the rest. And with X equals 0, that means he's going to discard his entire hand. As you can see, Dredge sort of gets out of hand when it comes to the size of your graveyard. Becomes your main place to put all of your cards once you put over half of your library into your graveyard.
Yeah, and you take a look at, again, of the cards that he is putting into the graveyard from Breakthrough. Again, no Bridge from Below, so he does have an Icarid that he put down there. You see Shrout just surfing in for 1 here, but this is a very unfortunate series of events as far as Dredges go, because, you know, the way that I look at Dredge when I played it a couple of years ago is I'm not drawing 1 card a turn, I'm drawing like 6 cards a turn.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, 5 or 6 cards every single turn. You see Hoffman's going to put his 2 Lotus Petals into play, and he's just flooding out, so he can't actually take advantage of things right now at all. He just has to say draw and say go again. He's not hitting any Brainstorms or Ponders or anything.
Yeah, Andrew Shrout is going to be able to start putting on more offense now that he has all of those Dredgers out of his hand thanks to the Breakthrough, even though he got a little unlucky not being able to continue dredging with the Breakthrough, being able to discard all of his hand, getting all of those key Dredgers into his graveyard, really going to be able to fuel him going forward. And thankfully for him, since Jacob Hoffman was unable to really do anything, he's going to be able to have a few more turns, even though he has yet to hit a Bridge from Below, which is shocking, really.
I'm not a math guy.
Sure.
Never claimed to be.
Okay.
But I think that within all of these cards that he's turned over, statistics probably say, or percentage or some other math term, there should probably be 1 Bridge from Below that's been turned over by now. Likely. And there are none yet.
This is 42 cards deep in Andrew's library, and we have yet to see one of his 4 Bridge from Belows.
And so now Hoffman finally draws a card of consequence, which is Hive Mind.
Absolutely. Let's throw Hive Mind up on the board. It is the name of the album. So we want to look at what Hive Mind does exactly,
yeah,
and
at least
how the kill works.
At least it's not complicated. So
yeah, of course not.
That's lucky.
Sure. So the way Hive Mind works is that it will, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player copies that spell. Each of those players may choose new targets. They have to play the copy, though.
Correct.
Even though they get to choose the targets. And Jacob Hoffman's deck comes equipped with Pacts. Now, the Pact cycle from Future Sight includes Pact of the Titan, as well as Summoner's Pact and Pact of Negation. Those require you to pay their Pact cost on the next upkeep, and if you don't, you lose the game. Most important sentence there, if you don't, you lose the game, forcing your opponent to play that. As of course you see Andrew Shrout unable to pay 4 colorless and a red, so Pact of the Titan probably the ideal.
Yeah, and right now he can't pay for any of the packs. If it's Summoner's Pact, if it's Pact of the Titan, or if he's able to cobble together Pact of Negation, he can't pay for any of the packs right now. So he's going to cast the Hive Mind as Hoffman. The jig is up now. Shrout knows what he's up against, because again, Shrout wasn't sure what kind of show and tell deck he was up against. If it's the Dream Hall's Omniscience version, if it's Hive Mind, maybe this is just a really bad draw from Sneak and Show.
Sure.
You know, he wasn't really quite sure what he's up against, but he knows now, and he knows that, yeah, I should probably try to get this game over with as fast as I can.
Absolutely. So Icarid's going to re-enter the battlefield. Icarid's trigger is going to eat a Putrid Imp in order to come back from the graveyard.
And so now we're going to see another Dredge 6. Oh,
Finally.
wow, a Bridge from the Below. 2, 3, another Ichorid, another Narcomoeba,
4.
second Bridge from
you
Below, and another Ichorid. So these are what we like to call real dredges.
Yes, I think that this is certainly to the point where he can start doing what the dredge deck likes to do, which is reanimate enormous monsters or create an enormous army.
Yeah.
He already has the Gristlebrand as well as the Flamekin Zealot in the graveyard. So these 2 zombie tokens that are going to be created from the Cabal Therapy are going to make 4 creatures in play. That 3 of them will be used for a dread return on something, if he wants to, or he can do another Cabal Therapy, more tricks like that. In any case, Jacob Hoffman decides that's the end of that game because he was going to be able to deal at least 13 damage that turn.
Yeah, Shrout finally hitting a Bridge from Below is basically what sealed that game, being able to finally make zombies and make his Cabal Therapies and Dread Returns quote-unquote free, replace the creatures, and finally be able to finish off Hoffman. So, that was a rather strange game for players who I believe both kept their 7 cards and were just hobbling along.
Yes.
Not being able to put anything together. I mean, that was a very fair draw from Dredge,
Absolutely.
where it went completely unmolested and was still doing what it was supposed to be doing with a breakthrough, and Shrout able to pull it out, even though I'd say that he did not run to expectation.
Sure, but it helps when your deck is designed to turn its library face up. He was drawing 5, 6 cards a turn.
Yeah.
Jacob's combo deck was only drawing 1 a turn. So even though he got there halfway, Andrew was much more equipped for the sort of hobbling along mirror match.
Yeah. So we're going to take a look at the sideboards here. First, we'll take a look at Mr. Hoffman's, as he's going to be on the play this game. 3 Fire Spouts, 2 Flusterstorms, 2 Spell Pierce, 4 Leyline of Sanctity, and...
Ba-ba-bum.
Or is there... That's like the positive version.
Oh,
what if... Bum, bum, bum.
Right, the Price is Right. Ba-ba-ba-da.
4 Leyline of the Voids here.
Yeah,
for,
that's a problem.
For Jacob Hoffman. So, that's a thing.
Yeah, Leyline of the Void's rough.
So I'm a big fan of Leyline of the Void as your Dredge hate card. You know, when I'm playing Goblins, that's normally the go-to hate card I have for Dredge instead of a card like Relic, Progenitus, or Tormod's Crypt, or what have you. The reason for that is when you're playing against Dredge, typically you're going to mulligan for your hate card, be it Relic, be it Tormod's Crypt, or whatever. So if you're going to mulligan for a hate card, you might as well mulligan for the best one, which is Leyline of the Void.
The uncounterable one that comes into play immediately, absolutely.
Yeah. So I like Leyline of the Void as a hate card. It is pretty narrow, but it's also the best one, and if you're going to be mulliganing for a hate card in the first place, if you don't have like an effect like Transmute Artifact to be able to tutor for a hate card, you might as well play the ultimate one, and that's Leyline of the Void, and I think Shrout might be in for a rough next couple of games
absolutely.
here.
Leyline of the Void is a card that it looks like Rest in Peace, but it acts much differently. The Rest in Peace decks are expecting to cast it. It also has a trigger, whereas Leyline of the Void will leave the cards that are already in the graveyard unmolested if it's hard cast or put into play via some other source like Show and Tell. Leyline of the Void has long been the best hate card for Dredge, or for playing against Dredge.
Yes.
Being able to take out pretty much every graveyard interaction that you could possibly ask for. So, does Andrew have an answer? Well, it turns out he does. He has 4 Nature's Claims. Do you think that he brings them in for game 2?
I actually do think so. He saw Lotus Petal. He can, if he's familiar with Hive Mind, he knows that there are Grim Monoliths in this deck which are worth tagging. There are 3 copies in Hoffman's list. Typically, you're going to see Hive Mind play 4, but there are things to hit with Nature's Claim besides just Leyline of the Void. Now, targeting a Hive Mind with it is
not exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't normally work out very well.
Right. It sounds good in theory, but it doesn't work out the way you want it to.
Yes. But I think at the end of the day, he is going to bring Nature's Claim because it's a card that you bring in just to kind of hedge against what kind of hate people can have.
He also has an Iona Shield of Emeria in the sideboard. Typically very good in this matchup, being able to lock out all of the blue spells, which are about 75% of the spells in the deck. Among other cards in his sideboard include Ichorid, Street Wraith, Elish Norn, Dark Blast, Firestorm, and 2 Pithing Needles. Do you think any of those are going to come in as well?
I don't think any of the extra cards are going to come in. I think it's just going to be Iona, maybe subbing out the Gristlebrand for that because he just wants to race to get to that and then name blue. And then Nature's Claim is the other one that's going to come in. Again, you know, maybe his thought process is like, you know, I want to board in Street Wraith and just try to power through things and try to kill you on turn 2 because your combo deck is actually pretty fast. He could also board in the other Ichrid, but this matchup really isn't that grindy. Elishnorn has almost no purpose here, nor does Darkblast, nor does Firestorm. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of sideboarding here. You do see Shrout sideboarding right now, kind of taking his time, trying to figure out what kind of game plan he wants to employ, but I don't think there's going to be any drastic changes moving forward.
So for Jacob, he's bringing in the Leyline of the Void. If there was a matchup for him, this would be it. Does he bring in the Leyline of Sanctity to deal with Cabal Therapy? Does he bring in Firespout to deal with large armies of zombie tokens? Or does he just leave it at the 4 Leylines?
I think he just leaves it at the 4 Leylines. Firespout's a little bit... I guess, like, you know, my thought process with that is basically things are going to change after sideboard. It's not so much about the zombies and grinding out an advantage anymore. For Shrout, it's about a race to Iona naming blue, or a race to killing you all in one turn with Flame Kinzel plus the zombie, so he's not going to try to grind out an advantage or you know, fall apart like he did in that first game. So I don't like Firespout coming in, and Leyline Sanctity is pretty narrow, just good against Cabal Therapy, and when you have Brainstorm in your deck, I don't think you really need it. Honestly, I think you're perfectly fine. You can just kind of power through some things, and are you going to mulligan for that Leyline too?
Exactly.
I think you only need a mulligan for one Leyline.
Right, exactly. And the Firespout is mostly in Jacob's sideboard for Hate Bears. Mostly they're for Gadok Teague, either Sworn Canonist. Those are the two main ones, perhaps even Thalia.
Yeah, potentially Meddling Mage if anyone's playing that card.
Sure.
You see Jacob's opening hand right now. I see a black card.
Yeah? Uh-oh. That's a problem.
Uh-oh is a word.
Yeah.
You see Jacob reach for his deck?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wants to straighten it out because he knows it's not going anywhere.
Sure. Shields up for Jacob now. Andrew's deciding how he wants to proceed. He doesn't have a discard outlet other than that Faithless Looting.
Jacob, my best advice would be to not forget your beginning of game trigger.
Yeah, there you go. 2 Bridge from Belows in hand, also very awkward, so Andrew not being able to rid things out of his hands with something like Putrid Imp is a bit of a problem, because he wants to be able to discard his Dredgers first and discard his other extraneous things that you want to have in your graveyard later, things like Bridge from Below and Dread Return. He's going to ship it back. I think that he probably knows that he also needs to have one of his outs to things like Rest in Peace or Tormod's Crypt, or the thing he's actually going to be facing down Leyline with.
Yeah. Well, you know, assuming he boarded in Nature's Claim, which again, I would be very surprised if he did not, just as a hedge, some number of copies. Doesn't mean there has to be 4 in there, but I feel like there's some number of copies in this deck out of sideboard. I think that mulliganing, to an extent, to one of those is certainly reasonable at this point.
And especially with that 7-card hand, that 7-card hand wasn't exactly the god draw.
Yeah.
So no surprise to see Andrew going down to 6 here.
So do you have the read if you're Shrout? You take a look at Hoffman right there. You guys can all see him at home. You can see him. Do you know he's just got Leyline?
Well, Shrout is very good at the inside gamesmanship, being able to read his opponent for things. And if you take a look at Jacob's body language, he's leaned back. That means he's comfortable. He's looking around the room. That means that he's not particularly interested in what's happening directly in front of him. So, you know, weak means strong.
Sure.
Strong means weak. He's feigning weakness here because he knows he's very strong. And there it is.
Yeah, he could not wait to start this game.
Absolutely. So Andrew looking awkwardly at his 6.
He's going to play a Gemstone Mine.
And it looks like he is going to pass after that, would be my guess. Did Andrew not draw for the turn?
Shrout's on the play.
Oh, Shrout is on the play. I see. Leyline of the Void, there it is. If it starts in your opening hand, you may play it and begin the game with it in play, as all the Leylines do. And also, if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard, remove it from the game instead.
You're seeing a Taxian Probe here from Hoffman. He wants to get a good look at Shrout's hand of Dread Return, Lion's Eye Diamond, Narcomoeba, Cabal Therapy, and a Stinkweed Imp. 5 cards that basically don't have any text right now, thanks to Leyline of the Void.
Cabal Therapy might have some text.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
You better be pretty good, because you're not going to get a second chance with it.
Absolutely. So Andrew's going to need to find the Nature's Claims that may or may not even be in his deck. Or go with the Flyers plan of turn 2 Narcomoeba, turn 3 Stinkweed Imp, get the beat down going.
Ah, yes, the Flyers plan.
Yes.
Well, he drew land.
There it is. 20 turn clock. There's the Narcomoeba.
To the air we are gonna go.
Absolutely. I've actually seen some interesting sideboard plans for Dredge when they're expecting a lot of hate out of opposing decks. They bring in something like 8 to 10 2/2s for 1 mana.
Yeah.
things like Gravecrawler, Diagraph Ghoul,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Obviously, not exactly the ideal to be filling up 2/3 of your sideboard with things that are trying to level your opponent.
Yeah, not the best. Not the best, no.
But in a much more if Dredge is much more of the metagame, you can certainly expect much more Dredge hate. Of course, the old saying is, Dredge is the best deck to play on the worst weekends to play it. I think is what the saying is.
Sure.
When people aren't expecting it, it's the best deck. When people are expecting it, you should probably just put it back away.
Yeah.
So it shows up in the finals or in the top 4 every 4 to 5 months, and then people bring back out their Relic of Progenituses, and it gets hated out of the format once again.
Yeah.
But much like every zombie, it's always lurking and always going to come back.
So Cabal Therapy is going to get Force of Will here by Hoffman. He's going to remove an Intuition. So Shrout's Cabal Therapy. I guess they got 2 cards if you want to look for a positive here.
Probably not the one that Shrout wanted.
Probably not. So Hoffman is going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn and search up a land here on Shrout's end step. So we'll see if he's found a Hive Mind yet to kind of close this game out to go along with the pact. Again, some of the Hive Mind decks out there do have some copies of Emrakul, the Aeon Storm in their deck as an alternate way to turn on their Show and Tells. But you're not going to find any of those in this deck list. This is a creatureless version that is just focused on casting Hive Mind and a pact.
Yeah, I remember when I was playing Hive Mind, I played it at an invitational about, I would say 15 months ago. I was playing 3 Emrakuls. It's interesting to see a list that doesn't have Emrakuls in it. I guess so many decks are running Emrakuls these days that it's dangerous to put in your own Emrakul off of a Show and Tell.
Yeah, I suppose that could be the case. Let's see if he has a 3rd land. Alright, he does have a Mystic Rainforest.
So he does have the Show and Tell. He has 2 Intuitions. That's going to go get his Hive Mind and also his Pact, should he need to go search for them.
Shrout going to come in for 1 more.
Has a 3rd land, and here's more of the Flyer beatdown.
Yeah. Well, everyone's favorite plan. There goes your Gemstone Mine since it has no counters. And you guessed it.
Stinkweed Imp coming in.
And the other Gemstone Mine should be down to 1 counter since he used the first one for an Archamoeba and that one there for Stinkweed Imp. So we will get that changed for you guys in just a moment here.
Yep.
Make sure our game state is all good to go.
Stinkweed Imp. For the 2nd round in a row, we have a Modern Masters black creature on the board. This is not the Modern Masters printing, of course, but last round we had the Dark Confidants out of Todd Anderson's deck. So Intuition at end of turn. We're going to correct that Gemstone Mine counter for you.
There we go.
Intuition at end of turn, going to get 3 copies, most likely of the card Hive Mind. The way the card Intuition works is that he is going to search his library for 3 cards. They can share a name, or they could not, but these 3 are. Andrew is going to pick one of them. It's going to be that Hive Mind, that specific one.
Yes.
Not these 2. I don't want you to have those 2. This one. And that's going to go into Jacob's hand, and you'll shuffle your library afterwards.
And so it's this unique tutoring effect. It is an instant. It is blue, so it can be removed for Force of Will if you deem that necessary. Intuition is one of the better cards in Magic history.
Absolutely.
Really put combo decks on the map. You don't see it a ton in Legacy anymore, but the decks that you do see it in, like a Hive Mind, it is quite good in that strategy.
Yeah, many decks just use it as a 3-mana demonic tutor that also bins 2 other copies.
Yep.
There are some decks that even have an Intuition engine with things like Life from the Loam. Also not very common. We do have a player currently undefeated named Bobby Kovacs who's playing Lands today. Lands is a deck that uses the Intuition package. At least his version of Lands uses the Intuition. You see him in the background there, actually, in the black shirt. He is the gentleman playing the Intuition package in Lands.
So Hoffman happy with his Ponder. Finds a Brainstorm, so we're going to get a little bit deeper. 1, 2, and 3. So Ancient Tomb, Hive Mind, and Scalding Tarn.
Yep, not what he's really looking for, I don't think.
I think he's just in search of a pact.
Yes.
But he has Intuition in his hand, so he's not in a very big rush. Again, he could have just passed the turn. He could have gone Intuition, get my 3 Hive Minds, passed Intuition again for 3 packs, and then cast Hive Mind, cast Show and Tell, put Hive Mind into play.
Sure.
And then cast my pact. I think he may have just gotten a little bit ahead of himself, but he did find an Ancient Tomb, and now he can cast Intuition on his end step, so I think he's still doing okay.
Yeah, it's not like Shrout's putting a whole heavy amount of damage on him, although 2 damage does enter. That's the same amount he's going to take from this Ancient Tomb at end of turn to be able to Intuition for some number of pacts.
And I think it'll be Pact of the Titan.
Yes, Pact of the Titan is the 4 of in this
actually,
deck.
so this is kind of interesting because Shrout has out 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds and 2 lands. He could actually pay for Pact of the Titan. So that's a thing.
Suddenly awkward. How does he fight through these 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds?
So what he's gonna have to do is he's gonna have to get 3 Pact of the Titan. He basically has to assemble 2 packs.
Yes.
So he has to either get like double Pact of the Titan or Pact of the Titan plus Pact of Negation or what have you. But it actually is going to involve double Pact because there are 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds and 2 lands, which in total is going to provide 8 mana.
So he's going to find one of the packs. This is Pact of the Titan. It costs 5 mana on Andrew Shrout's upkeep. He has access to 8 total. So any other pact is going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's Pact of Negation, because Jacob Hoffman, because of the way the stacking works, he is going to be able to Pact of Negation his own Pact of the Titan, should he draw that card as well.
Correct. Hive Mind is fun.
Yes.
It's a really good card to have in a base set. Super easy for everyone to understand.
Absolutely.
Now, the interesting thing here is I really hope Hoffman realizes that Shrout can pay for the pack. Now, Hoffman himself can pay for the red pact as well because he has a Volcanic Island, but I would hate to see some sort of egregious blunder here.
Yeah, he is still facing down a clock. Let's not forget.
Yes, the Air Squad.
The Air Squad. The 2 1-power flyers are no joke.
They are.
Perhaps they're a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, a bit of a joke. You're a comedian on the side. They're a bit of a joke.
Yeah, they're a bit of a joke, but let's think about how much of a joke they are once we see what he does here.
How about a 3rd flyer?
Ooh!
Via show and tell.
The clock increases and the plot thickens here.
So Hive Mind is in.
And so is Stinkweed Imp.
Yep.
That Ancient Tomb, not really going to be able to be used for the remainder of the game, although not really a reason for it at this point. Andrew Shrout has 3 power, Jacob Hoffman at 11. That's going to be 4 turns for Jacob to be able, or 3 turns for Jacob to be able to find one of his remaining, or he needs to find, one of his remaining packets.
And he's actually going to cast Pact of the Titan right now. So yeah, I'm actually pretty heavily against this play, and here's the reason. The first Pact of the Titan Shrout can actually pay for with Lion's Eye Diamond, Gemstone Mine, and City of Brass. Second Pact, assuming it's not Pact of the Titan, if it's Summoner's Pact or Pact of Negation, he can pay for with the other Lion's Eye Diamond and the City of Brass. So it actually needs to be, when Hoffman does this, a lot. It needs to be the double Pact, and he actually just goes for it right now. Now, he is going to lose the Gemstone Mine.
Yeah, he is going to lose the Gemstone Mine, so it's going to be a little bit more awkward for Shrout. He's also going to lose the card in his hand if it's another flyer that he wants to cast later on.
I guess, yeah, he can't pay. He can't pay for Pact of Negation, but the Pact of Negation actually requires like some assembly.
Exactly. It needs something else. He still needs something else. The Summoner's Pact's not going to do it because he's still going to be able to pay. He has the 4 total mana in there, and the Pact of Negation's not going to do it unless he's able to find another spell.
Yep. And so now Shrout pays for the Pact of the Titan, has a 4/4.
They both
just
have
like
4/4 Titans.
Yeah, and they're gonna trade.
We're gonna trade 4/4 Titans on camera here.
Yep. That happened.
Yep, that's a thing that's happened in real life.
And now Hoffman has to pay for that pact, and he has to do it via Ancient Tomb.
Awkward.
Boy, are we in a fun situation in this game.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yep, and
5.
ouch, there's the 5. Down to 6 life.
Which puts him on a 2-turn clock now.
Yep. And that is a Lotus Petal. So, he casts the Lotus Petal instead of keeping it in hand to be able to have Pact of Negation be an out. So now the only out is Pact of the
So
Titan.
if he draws Pact of Negation right now...
He has many redraws, of course.
Yeah, but if he draws Pact of Negation right now,
he's just
this
gonna be
is...
kicking himself.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder if he's ever had to do that sequence before where... Oh, well, okay. It's very unlikely he's ever been in this game state before.
Of course.
Yeah. And he draws...
He draws Pact in the Gate.
He draws Leyline of the Void.
Leyline of the Void.
And that's it. So Andrew Shrout beats a turn 0 Leyline of the Void from the Hive Mind combo deck. Unbelievable.
That was spectacular. You know, I've seen many decks, or many games with Dredge. Not sure I've ever seen one play out quite like that.
No.
Yeah.
Not even close.
You see something new every weekend here on SCG Live.
The opponent keeps the Leyline of